under the burning sky. En route to Dalaran, Kel'Thuzad confided in Arthas Menethil and revealed some of the Lich King's plans to rebel against the Legion. He told the Death Knight that the demons were not to be trusted. They viewed the Scourge as disposable weapons, something to cast away once Azeroth was in the Legion's hands. Kel'Thuzad did not tell Arthas when this rebellion against demons might occur, or how it would unfold, but he warned him to be ready for it. And Arthas would be. Even before Kel'Thuzad's revelation, he had distrusted the Dreadlords. The demons were always following him, always watching him. He found their presence insufferable, and he looked forward to striking them down as he had done to Mal'Ganis. But the Dreadlords would have to wait. For the time being, Arthas would do his part to recover the Book of Medivh from Dalaran and help bring Archimonde into the world. In Dalaran, Arthas and the Scourge met resistance every bit as formidable as that of Lordaeron or Quel'Thalas, perhaps even more so. The city's magi battered the undead with barrage after barrage of arcane energy, wreaking havoc among the invaders. But this frontal assault was nothing more than a diversion. While the defenders focused their attention on the main undead army, Arthas led Kel'Thuzad and a small force of Scourge into the city itself. The Dreadlord Tichondrius accompanied the infiltrators, eager to keep watch over Arthas and ensure that he did what had been commanded of him. Using Kel'Thuzad's knowledge, Arthas overcame Dalaran's inner defenses. He cut a path toward the vault containing the Book of Medivh, only to find Antonidas waiting for him. Like so many other brave souls before him, Antonidas fought with all his heart to hold Arthas back, and like so many other brave souls before him, he failed. Frostmourne claimed another soul. This time, it was one of the world's wisest and most gifted magi. Arthas had expected to find Jaina Proudmoore at Antonidas' side, and he was surprised to discover that she was not there. In fact, it didn't seem she was in Dalaran at all. That thought sent a strange emotion flitting through Arthas, some lingering fragment of his past life. He was relieved Jaina was gone. The feeling passed just as soon as it had come. Kel'Thuzad shattered the enchanted vault holding the Book of Medivh, and he retrieved the artifact. Many other relics lay alongside the tomb, none of which was the skull of Gul'dan. Tichondrius was drawn by the item and its aura of fell energy, and he pilfered it from the vault before withdrawing from the city. Arthas ordered the Scourge to pull back from Dalaran. He had what he needed. Archimonde and his demons were waiting. As Kel'Thuzad prepared to open the way for the Legion, he marveled at Medivh's spellbook. The Lich had never seen the tomb before. It was one of the most closely guarded artifacts in Dalaran, and even he hadn't had permission to touch it. Now, Kel'Thuzad understood why. The book contained an extraordinary amount of power and knowledge. Kel'Thuzad drew on all of it, weaving a spell greater than anything he had ever been capable of in life. The influx of power created a rift that linked Azeroth and the twisting nether, and demons poured from the fiery maw. The first to arrive were the bestial fellhounds and mindless constructs called infernals. They were followed by even greater demons, such as Manaroth and the battle-hardened Doomlord named Kazak. Then came the towering form of Archimonde. After more than 10,000 years, the Demon Lord stood on Azeroth again. Archimonde immediately turned his ire to Dalaran. If left alone, the Magi would remain a constant thorn in the Legion's side. Archimonde wouldn't allow that to happen. He gathered the latent energies permeating Dalaran and wove a spell to bring the city toppling down. One after another, its glittering spires cracked and crumbled into rubble. The Demon Lord then transferred control of the Scourge to the Dreadlords. Archimonde saw no further need for the Lich King. The entity had served his purpose, creating a loyal army of undead for the Legion. Archimonde distrusted the Lich King even more than Kil'jaeden did. Archimonde ordered his forces to gather in the heart of Lordaeron and crush the last vestiges of the Alliance. This would ensure that no enemies would follow the Legion when the demons launched their invasion on Kalimdor. Not all of Archimonde's followers took part in the pacification of Lordaeron, however. The Demon Lords sent Manoroth and Tichondrius ahead to Kalimdor so that they would clear the way for the Legion's arrival. The Long March. Medivh sensed the burning Legion on Azeroth, and he knew the demons would soon begin their assault on Kalimdor. Fortunately, the remnants of the Alliance and the Horde had nearly arrived at the continent. Though Thrall and his people had left first, Jaina Proudmoore and her followers had closed the distance. The Alliance had enjoyed calm seas and full sails. They did not have to endure the angry storms that had battered the Horde's fleet and blown most of it off course. Though Medivh had succeeded in bringing the Horde and the Alliance to Kalimdor, he knew an even greater challenge awaited. The faction needed to join forces, but he could not simply ask them to do so. Too much enmity lingered between them. He would have to subtly draw them into a face-to-face meeting. Only then could he reveal himself and convince them to put aside their differences for the good of Azeroth. Medivh chose to lure Thrall and Jaina to a specific place on Kalimdor, Stone Talon Peak. The mountain, located south of the World Tree in Nordrassil, was considered sacred by local cultures. Magic suffused the peak, lending the site a certain air of significance and gravitas. The only question was whether Thrall and Jaina Proudmoore would survive the journey to the peak. They reached Kalimdor at different times and in different places, but they both faced hardships as they marched inland from the eastern coast. The terrain was harsh, a red wasteland that offered little in the way of food or water. The wildlife was just as inhospitable. Savage pig-like quillboar and poisonous scorpions prowled the jagged hills. As the days wore on, both Jaina and Thrall wondered whether they had made the right decision in coming to Kalimdor. Was there really any hope here, or had they merely traded one land of conflict for another? The march inland was difficult, but it was also rewarding in unexpected ways, particularly for the Horde. Shortly after arriving, Thrall discovered a wreckage from the missing ships in his fleet. It seemed that Grommash Hellscream and the other orcs had survived the storm and reached Kalimdor first. They were nowhere to be found, and Thrall assumed they had forged ahead on their own. Galvanized by the discovery, Thrall led his followers deeper into Kalimdor, eager to track down the rest of the Horde. But instead of fighting Grommash, the young warchief found himself in the middle of a war. Conflict raged between the two Kalimdor's native races, the Tauren and the Centaur. Though both were rugged and mighty, they were different in almost every other way. The Tauren were enormous bovine creatures, but their imposing size belied a gentle spirit. They had deep ties to nature through their deity, whom they called the Earth Mother. The Tauren also communed with the world's elementals through their long tradition of shamanism. The Centaur viewed these mystical pursuits as weak. They were a brutal, warlike people who hunted the Tauren for sport. With powerful equine lower bodies and humanoid torsos, the Centaurs were well suited for warfare on Kalimdor's open plains. For generations, the Tauren had weathered intermittent attacks from the Centaur. The battles took a heavy toll on both sides. Though the Tauren were kind-hearted, they did not shy away from combat. They made the Centaur pay for every unprovoked attack. Yet, they had no love for war. Whenever the Centaur appeared, the Tauren opted to find a new place to call home rather than throw their lives away. They lived in a constant state of upheaval, and they never stayed in one place for long. A year of peace was always followed by another war. The Tauren came to accept this great cycle of conflict as inescapable. It was the only life they knew, but that was about to change. Thrall became fast friends with the Tauren's wise leader, High Chieftain Cairn Bloodhoof. The war chief admired that many Tauren practiced shamanism and respected the land. The Tauren had noble hearts and yearned for a better future, but they were constantly drawn into bloody conflict. Thrall would not ignore the injustice he was witnessing. His horde stood as a beacon of hope for the races just like the Tauren, the misunderstood, the oppressed, and the forgotten. And his horde would fight to protect those in need. In a land of dust and cracked earth called the Barrens, the Horde stood shoulder to shoulder with the Tauren in battle. Their combined might crashed down on the Centaur warbands like a hammer and scattered them into the wind. The defeat shocked the Centaur and sent them limping out of the Barrens in disgrace. They would never again see the Tauren as easy prey. For the first time in memory, the Tauren saw a promise of a new future. The Centaur would always be a threat, but not as much as they had once been. The Tauren's nomadic existence was over. At last, they had broken the cycle of conflict. In the wake of the battle, Cairn Bloodhoof offered Thrall supplies and even some of his mightiest warriors to help the Horde reach Stone Talon Peak in the north. Most of the other Tauren ventured west into a grassy plain known as Mulgore. There, they would finally settle and build a permanent home.